You don't have to tell people that.
Front row.
Yeah. They don't know what our setup looks like.
No, that's true.
We're always front row.
We are always front row. But
Has there ever been a moment where you felt that you weren't in the front row?
When you're standing in front of me and I'm standing behind you.
Okay, that does happen sometimes.
Technically, I'm second row now.
I do get a bit wondery when we cast sometimes.
There's not much room anymore. I mean, if you get any closer, you're just not going to be able to see the full screen.
I would bump into the cameras.
Back when we were doing the previous game, I was right in front of the camera. I could just stare into my own eyes. It's a feeling you have sometimes when you look into the mirror. Either way, it is going to be W7M banning out Azami. Space Station has the last opportunity to go for a ban here on Border for what we have prefaced to be a very explodey map coming through. Castle to be removed. It's going to be some hard barricades not making its way onto the map. Together with the Azami means that 2 of the architects in the game have been taken out.
All right, let's try and find that Pepper. It's, you know, if it's one thing for us, no one look in the top left. Then it's another thing.
Yeah, I'm just going to say I was talking to Wolves and they said warnings were being handed out. So
yeah, maybe not in every language yet.
Maybe.
They're getting through all the many, many languages. The thing about a world tournament is you have to find somebody that can speak every single language.
Being done per time zone, maybe.
Yeah, they're steadily sort of pulling their way through it. Okay. As I was saying, the point I was making.
Yes.
For what is a long appearance and what is a long day for us, it's longer for the players, I think. Even though they only really have 2 big points of impact, they are your livelihood, your job, your energy to the degree of you've got to be performing at 110%.
Yeah, you need to give it your all the time. You cannot afford to slack in a major game like this. The only moment of rest you'll have during a major is when you're already qualified in groups and you have that extra game to play. That's the only moment where you can slow it down just a little bit. But the rest of the games, they need to be a full 110, 120% to allow yourselves the best possible opportunity of finding yourself up onto the next step of the major. As we get on for Border here, it's going to be W7M trying to find himself with some control up into that top floor. I believe it's Hertz already down below, waiting for the hatch potentially to come into play for the defenders, but I don't know if that's happening as of yet.
Steady drone, steady appearance, and a steady idea of the pressure they want to put down. The first is the break on the Flores, leading itself to get some clarity on that, the core staircase, the metal that runs its way up right to the heart of the site. Hertz, he's creeping his way in on underneath. He wants to see if he can catch anybody that's just trying to slip their way past the seeding area and maybe rotating off towards the beepers on the opposite end. They want to get a catch in. What we said about this map before we got into it on the previous stream was it is paper thin. It really goes from 0 to 100 in the blink of an eye, and you have to be ready for that. That means a lot of this work will come from just sort of setting yourself up. It might feel a little bit wide to those of you that play from home, but trust me, as soon as they swing a couple of extra feet, the fight will really start to fire.
About fire, you just see some of the incendiary bolts to be used by Julio there. He's going to be setting in a second as well, trying to force Hot and Cold off that position. We'll be fully aware now that that balcony's not currently in play. Heals are coming through. That's, of course, the new Doc Stim coming through. A full heal coming through. Instantly falls, losing his life afterwards, though, so it was in the long range.
Yeah, Keys was able to get one. Yeti bites back, though, gets the hop out, and the fight itself, it is lost one in the mix of it, but suddenly it's a 3 versus 3. As I said, it's a game of intensity. There's Julio getting one on the back end of it. Just locks themselves in. They're going to see if they can try and stick the plant. The old hand and the experience is going to see if it can be the experience on the lead and post-plant for the first time, with Hertz having the watch round on that. The metal stairs. Rampy's trying to fight his way back in, but with a cross angle of 2, there's nowhere really for him to go. The first falls into the favor of W7M.
Knew exactly where he was going to be after he fired that 9mm, and well, you just go in for a couple of shots from every given position as you are W7M. So they find the first on the attack, quite convincingly as well, as they managed to cut right through the site. Doc able to get a heal down on the ground, but wasn't quite effective as the instant kill came in afterwards. You mentioned that Keys able to pick up that double kill early on before being punished. Crucial in a situation like this. The bathroom tellers will be the next side we head to. Space Station is going to continue their rotation, even though they have just lost that first round quite convincingly as well. At that means they need some change, and that change will come from that bathroom tellers. A lot of frost mats being placed, and every single given jumping you have on the side, hoping to at least even out the battlefield a little bit, right? Like, they need to aim down if they want to be firing at those frost mats, or they need to take the gunfight and they will get injured. So it gives you that advantage if you, well, basically force them to take those fights.
A full rotation of operators, only one of them remained the same, and even then it's in different hands, with the Sledge staying across the two different rosters. I'm not sure if they thought it was a different site, but it's definitely a different strategy. Too hard for each, and the external Prisma, that's probably on the roof, if I was to guess, the irritating spot on top of the AC unit.
Let's see. No, it's actually down on the balcony between CCTV and Armory, I think.
Oh, I didn't even see it there. But
yeah, it's up there. See?
Oh, there. Okay, yeah.
It's in the middle of the map.
Thank you for rotating. I'm not sure. Is it easy?
No, I think easy was done already.
Oh,
is this red like? For a little yes or no? So.
It's medics. Yeah, there's the spin. Hey, medics. You're the one of the person in the building. Herds is no longer in the building. Yeti able to find another kill. That's 2 for 2. He's got to keep that consistency across the rounds and seeing if he can keep trying to put that medal down towards, well, the medal of those being put up against him. They lose the Nomad. They lose the control of maybe some of the width here. As I said, it becomes quite aggressive and quite a swing through, and it's more likely that that's going to be your end. Vicious strikes via the angles and openings put together.
Leo just holding on. Long rotations, the rest of W7M trying to find themselves a way in. They need to dig in. They need to open up. They need to cut through. Rampy's just playing in the office right here. He's fully aware of the fact that a drone could be coming in from the skylight right above him. And if that happens, a grenade could shortly follow. So he needs to keep an eye out for that. But for now, W7M is trying to take this horizontally, not really trying to put in any pressure from above on that skylight. Of course, in the form of a grenade to come through. And they might have actually just completely pulled off, not wanting to go for it.
There, they wanted to get rid of that bulletproof. They didn't know a player was behind it. JV92 finds out Hot and Cold, takes care of Hot and removes him from the board. It's a bite back, and it's a very late one because there's a minute left, and they've got to start trying to put themselves into the fight. Keys gets one more. The swing against Yeti goes against him. It almost goes against Rampy as well, who just tucked into a fight, but has the ability to head up to the second story and support it here on the other side. They get the break towards the default plant. There's got to be a rotation here that comes through from the side of SSG. Otherwise, they're a little bit freewheeling through. The C4 just lane and gets the perfect drop onto Julio. The kick goes cold. Fultz gets keys as well. There's still these calls and attention that can be paid across the board. JV's trying to get the lockdown. Here's an air jab go off on the far end. Rampy suffers a bit of damage, but it's a post plant there inside the seeding. The hot pings comes against them. An important fight to win it, and it's theirs to take. W7M brings some of the body balance back into their favor and peel further and further back. Volps is stuck, but he at least has the chassis to work with. He can sort of duck down and buy himself some safety. If he goes unchecked here, it could be a huge blow to an unsuspecting player. You can see Fultz is trying to work it out. He was not unsuspecting. The 2 versus 1. JV has to get in the position here to lock it out. They're going for the steady bait. They want to draw the fight. It's 15 seconds. They've got to take it sooner rather than later. The longer they wait, the less likely this is to be theirs. There's the strike. Close. Bosco just has to hold it down, and SSG find a response in a first round.
Slowly but methodical, getting back into it. They're not rushing themselves towards that diffuser, but taking the ground bit by bit, securing angle by angle. That's how Space Station was able to go for that retake. I was going to be praising W7M for actually taking out a player into lobby, because that basically takes you out of that sandwich they were finding themselves in, really only having to worry about one side to push for. But after some quick and, well, accurate shots coming through from Space Station, they find themselves back into the round, having the opportunity to go for the defuse there. So that brings us to 1-1, keeps us equal for now. As we're headed towards the workshop and ventilation room next. Again, not going to the top floor straight away. It's Space Station wanting to continue a rhythm, wanting to continue their rotation. Up to the top 4 in terms of a extension. Shields being placed down. Some proximity alarms to be set up as well. And other pieces of utilities such as Prismas, just to make sure that they give themselves the best opportunity to fight as they hope to gather some information. All the W7M has to do is just circumvent that. Now, there's going to be two ways about it. Either you completely ignore that top floor, but it is not something you usually see being done by pro teams, due to the fact, of course, that verticality is so powerful. So what most likely will happen is W7M trying to take some fights up onto that top floor, hope to gain the upper hand out there.
Houghton just tucked around on the corner of detention, maybe eyeing up a bit of a pacey breach. There is obviously always the chance of that being led in via maybe an impact, maybe a C4 if you really feel fancy, or Fultz could just burst through any angle and identity he wants. The spray comes across the back, and the back end of the site itself, the double door gets cracked open. There's still the consistent pinging of that external Prisma.
It's going to be quite annoying, but that's going to be mostly it. Don't really have to worry about it more than that. So of course, just your vision being obstructed every now and then, but Fultz gets that first. Yeti taken off the board. He has been consistent so far. Keys doesn't check the right corner, almost. Manages to stick the actual flick there with that shotgun, but Fultz is a bit quicker.
Ooh, there is Volps though, his second. A great take across the board. I do wonder if maybe they droned it, checked it, and well, it's an Oryx, so they always have the ability to appear in places you might not expect. The C4 break and the spray through does some damage to Hertz. Not quite enough to get the lockdown, and they're still going to see if they can slowly smoke and push their way into this, the important vertical control. Now they have it, now they're tucked, they know the game's against them. Julia makes it even worse, takes care of Bosco. Houghton, what can you do here on the Valk? They are watching from above, but mainly as a lead-in to get this kit down. This could be an easy strike. It's on the other side of the wall, he doesn't quite know though. Julio, an old experienced hand, sure does, and Rampy with the last. W7M get their second round.
It was dangerous of Houghton to play in that position because there's 2 or 3 angles a player can pop up from, and he hoped that he was going to be able to get that early and cheap strike onto a W7M player to equalize that scoreboard just a little bit more, because they were quite a lot of manpower down. They did need to make a risky play happen to actually secure themselves with a bit of an advantage, but they missed it. Now, a tactical timeout to be called by Space Station Gaming quite early on. Having lost 2 rounds against W7M. And this basically would tell me is that they're feeling kind of beat around by W7M. They don't quite know exactly how to deal with it, even though they do have that 1 round on the board. You start dissecting that one, and you're thinking, all right, it was a C4 that stopped the first initial plant from happening. It was then another, well, good pickup on the fact that they needed to rotate through to pick up that diffuser, and after that it was a good 2v2 retake coming through. But besides that, they managed to circumvent most of our setup. They managed to actually get into the site and try and go for that plant. And that's something you would like to prevent at any given cost.
It's the frustrating thing, I think, about being in this position. Statistically, they are better on their defense on border. Statistically, W7M are better on their attacks on border. We don't have, you know, the deepest. It's only over a couple of plays between the pair of them, but still, you have those numbers, you have those expectations here. They think that they should at least have more control. Even if the rounds don't go their way, you're right, they're struggling to keep that sort of lock and the latch on. There always seems to be another W7M player. But this is something that we talked about with W7M. We've got to see from our perspective their growth on international stages.
Yes.
Sure, you get the taste of them on the sort of local scene, and the local scene will always have more of an in-depth knowledge on how these players did. But for international, they came out of nowhere at the start of the year, and then they were consistently everywhere.
I mean, that's about it, right? Like, surely these players, they have been growing in the international scene, but if you're just, you know, a viewer that is watching EU and only EU in the majors, suddenly W7M popped up and suddenly they are staying and being in every single major this year. And you're like, where did they come from? And the fact being is that it was a very long journey for them. They have managed to make it click and they have managed to make it all connect. They just need to go for that next step. They just want to go for playoffs, play in front of that crowd, and maybe even find themselves with a title. That's the drone there from Hertz. They know someone is behind that mirror window. Previously, this is a spot that often gets naded out, and talking about that, that's Yeti gone again. A grenade used by JV92 is going to be removing him, but there's still 3 more on the board. That's what W7M is looking to play for with here. If they manage to isolate these players above some destructible flooring, you can bet that a grenade is following shortly.
Now, with a bit of a moment in the stunned silence after an SSG early game timeout here, with only really 2 rounds going against them, has there been a change? a little bit of a premature release of the grenade. Doesn't quite get the catch through the hatch that it maybe wanted, or they hoped there was a player on that really tight angle, but no one was quite locked in there. The Flores drone pushes one, and Volps gets pushed off. Although they've lost Yeti, they've been able to take out the player that was the drive back in on the previous round. Can they see if they can try and get the body advantage in their favor for the first time in a while?
The thing, though, is that on W7M, everybody so far has been able to hit the mark. Every single player is there to step up when they need it, and that is going to be that scary part. You might take out Volps, who managed to find an amazing 2K before, but that doesn't mean that they're out for the count here. Last two grenades used will not be finding anybody. It's Bosker actually saved behind the bomb chassis that is holding a long angle. It's going to be very difficult to dispatch of him now because you do not have any verticality left to play with. They need to go for a horizontal take here. They need to try and force mistakes on the space station side if they want to get this plant down.
55 seconds, and they're steadying their hand with the eyes and angles towards the site. The smoke covers the swing. They're seeing if they can bait it behind the Dockerbee, but it's Keys that opens up the back end right down onto 90. Bosco and Houghton caught out. Rampy gets one back in. They're sort of spraying and praying and hoping they can get a catch on the push itself. It's the C4 of Foltz. Stops the kit. 30 seconds now. Foltz is still on a back line behind the shield. The two players are swinging onto the fountain. One gets one back. Keys, he's looking for the 4K for the round itself. 20 seconds. Where is that last loose player? The take there, the Capcans onto the door itself, the duck round, the pepper over the top of the shield, the flashes, they're looking high, he goes low, it's Keys! The 4K for the round and a huge clutch out.
A huge flashbang from him as well. He realizes behind that shield, there's only one way you can challenge that, and that is using that flashbang to get rid of that vision and push instantly afterwards. And this is what I said before. Volps might have been the driving force in one of the previous rounds, but everybody is connecting right now on W7M. You give Keys the opportunity to go for it, a quad kill follows. And that is W7M after the timeout from Space Station, locking off their third attacking round. Now Space Station again continuing their rotation, headed back towards the side that just has been unlocked, which is going to be our detellers. Another question is, has W7M learned from the previous time they attacked this? Because that's when they lost it, that's when they weren't able to get all the gunfights to go their way. Do they have something up their sleeves? Now we do see Glass being hovered over now by Julio. Is he going to stick that? Is that going to be making an appearance in this round? If so, is that going to be a smoke execute potentially to make its way onto the side?
W7M, they take an important round, which is the one after attack timeout. They get that response, they get that moment, and they got to see if they can try and turn it potentially into more on the back of that. If they find a fourth, heaven forbid a fifth here, I think at the end of a long day, it's going to make the stress of it being a long day even worse here for the side of SSG. Okay, it's border. Some teams are better at attack and some teams are better at defense, and it is a map that does work well for attack. It's still far from over this game. But the fact that the attack timeout was taken so early, it screams the plan's not working. Julio.
Not quite having the full reach there of the opening of the wall, so wasn't quite completely able to take down the player on top of that hatch. But he's definitely made them aware of the fact that they are being watched. Yeti from CCTV looking down the hatch, making sure that the inspection stays under control, and Hertz might be moving into that situation soon where he's going to be all challenged by the P10 Roni from up above. That's he relocating himself though, using a drone that he just recently taken in control. Had to do it before it lost signal. Otacol waiting close around the corner and ventilation. The phone call will come out. That is going to be the call for Volps, that someone is going to be playing on his close corner.
There he is, continuing the run of the last round, and Houghton's able to at least stop Volps, but as you said, all the guns have been popping off, and there's still 4 more W7M players ahead of the fight to try and get through. Houghton suffers next. A quick response. That rotation game from this team is pretty phenomenal. I don't know what we just saw. Maybe it was Herds being sent up to the land above, but it puts the body balance into the favor here of SSG. There is still Julio, JV and K's in front of them.
Still going to be that 3v4. Just a man down for now. Diffuser out of the count as well, which will have to be recovered at some point. for now, they're just playing a bit of a kill game here. They want to be locking off as much ground as they possibly can. See if they can find themselves a kill as well here and there on that journey. They're all slowly playing closely around one another.
I like that. He didn't want to give the game away that he's above as the Glass. Didn't shoot out the mute jammer. He's just sort of hoping that somebody drifts in and gets a bit like that. There it is. He was the sneakiest Glass you've seen, and now he can be as loud as he wants. They've tucked themselves in above. But look at where the kid is, look at where the side is, and look at the players. They still have to get through. There's one. Bosco takes care of them, gets the lockdown, just tucks out of the way. Do they know about faults? Now they do. Bosco, he suffers with some cover support. They know where the two remaining players are. They've just got to buy themselves some time. Shoots a bit too high. And there's Julio accidentally getting the kill for a collateral. A 1 versus 2. They've got themselves spread out. They don't have the kit at this point. SSG tucked either side. You can see both of them know it. And there it is, the second round for SSG. The chance still to tie this up as an even half.
Played that well in the end there. They realized, okay, we've just lost another player. Let's just play this patiently. Let's not overstay our welcome and make sure we secure that second round. Let's not give Julio anything he can play with here. And thus, again, they will win the tellers and bathroom area. Back to ventilation workshop we go. The side that W7M was able to sneak out against Space Station before.
Attackers need to locate and defuse bombs.
Let's see how Space Station will approach it this time. Now, this was one of the biggest blowouts we've had so far in this game. Remember Hudson just sitting there at the main door, waiting, hoping to have the right angle covered when it was going to be a different one he was going to get swung from. But that was because we're in a 2v4 situation. He needs to find one kill to bring back that body balance ever so slightly to make it a winnable position. Because if you're just going to be turtling down in the 2v4, you don't really have any of those crossfires to work with or alternate angles. Like, for example, if you're thinking about CCTV cash room on Clubhouse, you can play from the garage. You can basically stop anybody from jumping in the window, from walking in from the construction door, just from a single angle. You don't really have that on that side, not in the positions they had under control. So he needed to go aggressive, unfortunately unable to find anybody. So it's up for SSG to make sure they do not lose these early players this time, but instead get their entry of their own.
W7M, they've still had these lead-ins, still had these big moments. I talked about it briefly before. Their rotation game can be excellent. They can be very, very quick at coming up with the plan B and making it sort of respond. They know also how to push onto players. There's the deploy of the Selma, there's the breach on both sides, there's the hope they'll get at least the crack and the push on the player. On the back end, it's steadying its way through, it's doubled down, and no intense reveal, actually.
Not yet. Hudson roaming around a little bit on that bottom floor, just around the metal stairs, making sure he can strike wherever he's necessary. As these phone calls come through, it should be information given out towards the side of W7M, unless of course the players are inside the mute jammers. That is going to be a very aggressive swing to come through from that mute. Bosco somehow escaping with his life. He wanted to dig in deep next to that window, not knowing players are out there.
Yeah, but he also escaped. Not for very long, mind, but now they're in on the site. JV's able to get one. They're going to go for the stick and the plant. The main door's being watched as well. Mozzie's trying to get the angle with the C4. Is it in time? Yes! Yeti stops the plant. They are still at a big body disadvantage. Rampy above. Yeti tucked inside the side itself. Keys is suffering in that engagement. Yeti is also suffering now. He's on a chase and somehow gets out on a sliver of health, finds the kill and finds the vertical hold. Tucked back round. Running away from the engagement, make sure that they are at least in a position to bite back. JV92 is watching for it. The swing is called out. Volps gets it, leaves just Rampy with a sliver of health. Here the Buck breaking forth underneath. They're trying to find this loose player. They're realizing it's probably better to plant here on more of a space. Rampy is going to find it tougher to locate just where this kit is going. There's another bit of movement. It's a little bit of ice fishing here. Do they know where he is? It's the wrong side. The Buck's making a bit of noise. JV's making worse. W7M, a 4-2 opening half.
I was going to say, just a single pellet from the skeleton key should have been enough to take out the frost there, but it would have been way better to just send in a player, and that's exactly what JV92 realized. You know what? I'm just going to go rush up the metal stairs, take him out as he's trying to stop that plant from happening. And to take that half, you mentioned it, 4-2, W7M in a bit of a comfortable lead here, but now the big question arises. Are they going to be able to do the same on defense? Because Siege is a game of two halves, and even though you've just managed to be quite dominant onto your attacking half, You now need to do that on your defensive half. And that might be the big challenge here.
I think that's the thing. I know I quoted it earlier on around the time we had the SSG timeout, is that there is a preference towards the two halves. The difference isn't huge, though. They've both still been able to put in good performances on this map. We have more data based on the nature of what happens in Brazil in terms of W7M's map pool.
It's bigger due to Copa League.
It's bigger due to Copa League. It's bigger due to having the setup of, you know, best of threes come through as the lead in here. SSG, we get a slightly narrow idea, but Border was one of the ones that was up there. If anything, they were, in the words of Fresh, one of those teams at a best of one that can be pretty solid. It's the best of threes and potentially five that's going to be the true test of them. Here, they might not even be able to make that distance.
Quick barbed wire outside, JV92. It's not really risking anything. I mean, unless someone quickly gets back onto top of a roof or something to actually put down some pressure, but within the first 10 seconds of a round, that's not going to happen. So that barbed wire is just going to be slowing them down a little bit if they want to approach through the balcony outside and head towards the armory wall. It's not going to be the biggest of worries for Space Station Gaming, but it allows JV92 to play aggressive around the armory wall. And that's what the openings are for. Julio playing around here as well, has an open window. If they do start punching that barbed wire, he will be swinging at it.
Can they find this? The early swing, the holds, and the break of the Selma. The E1D pops off, and he moves just at the end of it. Takes a bit of damage from there as well. Is able to take care of the Selma, pre-fires it, makes it an angle that can be watched through, but to be honest, that's the purpose of that. Hodden getting the single pop is good enough for his measure in money at that point. And, well, they don't quite move behind it. Rampy, he has some cover, yet he suffers the swing round, and it's covered from the back end. Volps strikes. Is he going for the double down on the run out? It's pressure on. Houghton finds him, though, has it. And suddenly, Fultz and Rampy have one of a piece. It's Kays. Goes for the jump out, the third player. Fultz goes down as well, and JV92 is able to get that lock in. There's still the swing on the window. Bosco with the kit in hand, the Lion is waiting to pounce in a sudden 2 versus 2. I said this map can turn explosive, usually it's inside, that was kind of not.
I was going to say, we talked about it before, how it could be very sudden, very explosive. That's exactly it. 3 players going for a jump out just to make sure they finally pick up that kill. And now we have 1:10 left on the clock in a 2-on-2. Bosco playing with that line, has some drones left. 3 still in total on the board. Now make that 2. So there is some information, but not too much. Also, no more E1Ds to go for here, so W7M does have a slight advantage as they need to just hold on to the side. They need to just wait out for the time, whereas Bosco taking a lot of damage early on here.
Just in a rotate as well, just running past an open door. They sort of set up a drone inside break. Maybe they expected the player to be watching the opposite side. A late reinforcement onto Fountain. Just cuts off another option, and with 30 seconds, they're limiting the movement. Yeah, you're exactly right. Again, SSG. Suffer just blindly running past the window, expecting W7M to play passive. They're back on the site now, but they're not really a team that you can ever truly describe as passive. There's the angle I said. Could be big at the very opener of the game. Might finally be punished here, but with barely any health between them, 10 seconds left. There's the first that goes against them. Doesn't need the full kick of that DMR to get the kill. This one needs all the connection. Finds one, looks for the second. Bosco, no! Just locked in by W7M.
Way too greedy there in the end, W7M, hoping to go for the final kill onto the line. That could have cost them the round, but they secure it. Just barely though, 5-2. W7M is extending their lead. And then, as mentioned before, they are getting very explosive, jumping out, going for the chase in a situation where it's a 1v2, and you are playing against a DMR. I mean, we've seen the damage that a DMR does. A single shot is 70 HP worth of damage. 2 shots, you're dead. That's just the simple thing of it. And if you've already taken out some of your HP, that is just going to be hurting a little bit more. The Melusi running aggressively there, that could have cost a round, but W7M, they hold on. And now push on to the next, which also is going to be Tellers and Bathroom. Waiting for the barricade to come through before some of the shotgun work that needs to happen first. He's using the Ramadesh as well to create some extra rotation, saves you some ammo, saves you some time as well. Just so you can get into position quicker, get more stuff done. That 5 HP, well, it might make the difference, but I don't think you'll ever really notice it will make the difference, right? It's like that 5 HP, you're willing to take that. That's fine.
It's a fine.
It's
Fine.
It's a little amount of utility to sacrifice for rotation.
5-2 here, W7M. They've been able to do that hard job of getting one either side of the break. SSG, if you're tuning in here after, I don't know if it's finished. The reveal panel maybe is done. I saw Parker did a tick tweet, and usually that means it's the end of it. SSG have used their tac timeout. They used it very early in the game after only the 3rd round here. They've suffered a little bit. It's been a big separation between the 2 rounds they got. W7M, they're still holding on. It feels like we're about to get something pacey, and it's a 3-2-1 go. The smoke covers the angle. Houghton gets covered by JV, and they're inside and very quickly outside. Herds swung around. Herd Rampy faults find keys in the meantime, and Bosco is looking to Gon 6 break his way right through the heart of the top floor here. They have the ping on the player. Yeti wants to hammer home right behind this. There's the reveal. There is Herds! Swings against the glass. Does get picked up in a trade situation, but Bosco is still working on the man deficit. They're still on opposite ends of the site itself. There's the reveal of a shotgun player, and there's the pull back. Bolts cannot make the connection.
Why, if you have a hot ping, do you use the Gon 6 first to alert the player that you're coming? You could have literally just wallbanged them through the door. That would have been a free kill. You would have found yourself in a 4v3 situation now against W7M. Now they have the advantage. Again, 2 players left on Space Station Gaming to try and make this work. 90 seconds, it's plenty of time to try and make something work. It's just they need to go all the way to the opposite side of the map, towards the bathroom and tellers. Probably there's going to be some angles being watched from the actual workshop here. Fult's not going to be able to get too much done. He has been spotted out. It's a Nitro to blow him up. Leaves it only up to Bosco now. And E1 they used, but no one is going to be moving out. It's actually the smoke making a bit of a movement here with that shotgun. Goes for it, finds the kill. This is the greediness, the overconfidence that they do show time and time again. And it works out this time. It worked out the last round, but these moments will get punished later down the line.
W7M, if you've never seen them play or not interacted with them, are confident.
Yes,
it's the word, if you were to take a single word and put it to W7M, confident is that word. They've been ever since their first international performance. Yep. They think they can win every engagement in their way. And to be fair, they do a very good job of it. They're one of only 2 teams that's been at every single major. It can be punished. How confident are they? They're this sort of confident team where usually they'll see, what's this team's favorite map? I want to play them on that map and beat them.
Yeah, that's it, right? Like, they'll not be...
They're the sort of confident where they say, let's 1v1, you choose the gun, the game, the day, I'll have one hand tied behind my back and I'll still beat you. It is a confidence that's built on skill, but in this game it's causing so many problems for SSG because nothing is free.
No. Even if you think it's free, there is going to be a W7M player that is like, you know what, that's free, let's just retake that and put up some problems into the face of our opponents. But again, I have to come back. Why, Space Station? Did you Gon 6 a door where you had a hot ping onto a player right behind it? Use the DMR, just double tap him. Problem solved. You let him know he actually gets the kill because you used that Gon 6. Slight mistakes, which cost you rounds. Put you into a 6-2 situation now. Houghton is going to be bringing in the blitz. Fult's going to get spawn peeked. Why not? This is exactly
another jump out.
7M likes to do. Just jump out.
Just jump out.
And if Keys would have died, someone else would have jumped out right after.
Probably about 3 other players.
Yeah, just to make
you
sure
kill one of us. All right, Rampy. He's going to see if he can drive. They went for an idea of pace. Houghton instantly caught out. Well, there goes the blitz of the blitz. The player's above. He's blinded. He's looking for the last bit, but it's Julio that gets the final connection. And, well, 2 bodies gone in this, potentially the final round. Bosco does find one back earlier than what has otherwise been achieved by this roster on previous swings, on previous attempts here. They have 2 minutes still. 3 players dead and an approach on site within the opening minute.
It's kind of the story of the SSG attacks, right? They have all been relatively quick at the start and then slowed down for like the last minute and a half, where the majority of the players were already dead. Now actually have the majority of players still left. But Space Station kind of went for a Hail Mary approach. They just rushed the side, hope for the best, and get themselves shut down for it. Bosco now moving up, droning himself. He's in a dangerous position, droning. jump outs could come through. Now he is going to give himself some information, hoping to go for a pre-fire. He's missing the shots, and is going to be challenged here actively by the other player. Going prone, Hertz will be shot down as Rampy comes into support.
Bosco does find the tail end of the kill, and suddenly pre-firing against the yellow indicator has led to a little bit more success here. It's a 3 versus 2. They have a minute. I guess that's the benefit of a rush failing, as you have a lot of time to try and make a take succeed. And they're using all of that properly. Steady on, over the top. They're not sort of second-guessing anything. They're expecting a fight round every single corner. It's fair enough. It's the way you got to do it against a team like this.
There's also a Nitro Cell still in pocket for Julio, so he's definitely going to be using that if he gets a bit of an indication where this push is going to be coming from. For now, he's still playing patiently. I believe he's going to go for a bit of a rotate around so he can watch the metal stairs descending players, if that would be the case. It's in the meantime right above that hatch. I believe that was Volps just giving away his position, so he should be aware of at least one player on the site. Is that going to be a double drop?
Oh, there's the smoke, there's the side, there's the shotgun miss! Threaded the needle between the two players, and now it's down to the veteran. Julio sneaks towards the smoke. The C4 isn't quite going to get the catch, but it does a lot of damage to Yeti close on the door. They're vertical. The beeps will give that away. We hear a bit of a pre-fire, but the first time, SSG, they're starting to make a mark here on their attack. They've got to make it on every single remaining round here. Julio, he's above. He's looking for at least one more body to take out of this equation. He's trying to find an angle through, but SSG, they've got a lot of width to them. They've got a good idea, and they've got that locked off as well. Pre-fires the fire. Gets a freebie on the drop there, but 16 seconds to get through to get to the kit and get the defuse. I mean, I think even now he's out of time.
He's going to be out of time. I mean, he has 3 seconds to reach that. Mirror is too slow of a character to actually make that happen. And then you need to hope that Yeti wasn't going to go for the challenge after that. So it is going to be a space station round to come through. They at least fight back a little bit here after they managed to punish the player in CCTV by coordinating together and not giving away any extra prior information that they were coming. Still match point though, still 3 match points they need to play against. W7M has every single given opportunity to make sure they will be coming in victorious at the end of this game. They have every single site they can still revisit at least once if they want to. And let's start with Armory Lockers, the top floor that has been unlocked. Is this going to be the end where Space Station will go 0-2 at the day? And W7M will put themselves in a very good starting position for these group stages. Will Space Station fight back? They should bring this to OT. Steal some points away.
They have no option at this moment in time. They've really got to see if they can try and stick the metal and pull every round in that same prosperous moment. It started bad. There's no 2 ways about it. They lost the opening 2 players. One of them was inside the site itself, and one of them was on a jump out. W7M, as we said, sometimes overconfidence can suffer them, but SSG, how late in the day do they learn that lesson, and how late in the day do they know that, or maybe we can try and get the drop on them?
Oh well, another 3 minutes have come upon us here as W7M is looking to go for another early peek, it seems like. I mean, there is some players active around the windows. The default cams are being watched, and I believe that as soon as they do realize one of these players is alone and not watching any of these jump outs on the balcony, it is going to be Hertz or any of the other players to go for that jump out. Early RC used to get rid of a Banshee device. It's going to be allowing them for a bit of an easier jump in, and this might be actually one of the calmest starts of the rounds that we've had ever since we started Border.
Yeah, there's a little bit of peace. No W7M players are outside the map. Yet.
It's only a matter of time at this point. I'm just giving a quick check, actually getting droned down. It's going to go for a bit of a chase. However, it doesn't know if it's going to be completely clear. Let's take out the drone eventually here. Key still active and about on that bottom floor. Drones are rolling through. They are aware of his current position. And Hertz is coming in for a bit of support. Gone 6. Flashbangs, concussions all used. They're trying to get rid of Keys, but not quite successful at that as he's able to rotate himself back out towards the hallway on 90.
Can they dig in and get this early player? This is likely the longest we've had all 10 players still standing. Volts is almost the first off the board, fires back, but tucks tail and gets out of there. Doesn't want to risk the wrath of several W7M players that like to move in the wake of the first fight. There is a fight that happens over break. Hot and watching, looks for the second, pre-fires it. They didn't quite lean entirely into it though. They're still sort of fishing around 90. In fact, Julio pushes even deeper, drops and goes for the pre-fire angle. Do they know just where he's tucked, watching and waiting? He's assuming somebody might be a bit further out. It's still patient, but look, another player steps in. Volps wins out the engagement. They retake CC. Are they going to go for it? Volps really wants to. Just a bit short. Is he going to do it again? There it is. A bit too high. Gets caught out. The lock on break room door. It goes almost against them. There's the grenade. Pushes the pressure. 92. Gets two of his own. It's a Claymore that finds Herds. Rampy is down. Yeti is two. And W7M, they're able to take the 3 points. A 7-4 showing at the end of the day.
And this is truly putting Space Station into a bit of a bad situation because they found themselves 0-0 points, with BDS and W7M all picking up the full 6. Well done by W7M. They stayed aggressive, they stayed on top of things, they did not give any breathing room to Space Station Gaming. And with that, managed to lock out that game quite